House Republicans narrowly impeached Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas this week over his handling of the southern border. It's the GOP's second try after last week's failed vote in the House. This time it passed by just a single vote. Democrats calling the process politicized, so it's very unlikely Secretary Mayorkas would be removed by the Senate. Meantime, Indiana's House delegation voted along party lines in that impeachment vote, including Congresswoman Victoria Spartz, who I spoke with this week after her somewhat surprising announcement that she's seeking another term after initially saying she wouldn't. I asked her about that decision amidst a very contentious time in Congress right now.
Congress hasn't been able to come to terms on a border deal. Everything has been essentially gridlocked. Given all that, some might ask, why do you want to come back to Congress right now?
Well, you probably have to be a little bit insane, but to be back in Congress. And I understand how difficult things are because we've not been governing for a long time. We've been governing through crises. And now we have so many of them that our institution doesn't know where to start or doesn't even want to start. But just spending some time on the ground and talking to a lot of my constituents, I feel I cannot just give up. I cannot just be weak and decide that I'm going to abandon our republic in such a challenging times. I've done, I won a lot of battles. I've fought a lot of fights for the people, but ultimately we need to win the war on big issues. And I feel like I need to give people a choice, somebody that actually care about them. And ultimately it's all about choices, and people got to decide. And I'm fine, whatever people got to decide, but if I have an honor to represent them, I'll fight for them because we have to win.
There are 10 other candidates running for Congress in your district who didn't think you would be running for re-election. So now it's a field of 11. Your internal polling shows you with a pretty big lead at this point, but a number of local leaders have already come out and endorsed one of your opponents, State Representative Chuck Goodrich, including Fishers Mayor Scott Fadness, the mayor in your hometown of Noblesville, Chris Jensen. He put out a statement saying the district needs, quote, stable leadership instead of, quote, chaos and division. What's your response to that? And are you concerned that so many local leaders in the district are not endorsing your campaign at this point?
Well, that's not so many. That's a few that when I was state senator, I felt like my mayors, a lot of them, they feel that, the world is going around their city, their center of the universe, and not thinking about how what they want has implications of everyone else. And unfortunately, doing a lot of politics, which is going to be harmful to the city. But ultimately, that's a voters to decide. Voters need to decide, and I tell you one thing, they like people who are puppets and want to benefit their own agenda. And unfortunately, we have too many people like that in our party. And there is no lobby for the people in the State House or Congress. And I will always stand with the people and be an independent thinker and will challenge my party in leadership and people in executive positions that not doing the right thing. A lot of them don't like, but we're a free country. That is a choice for them to do that. And ultimately, that's up to the people and God to decide.
I also want to ask you about President Trump's recent comments last weekend on Russia, saying that they can, quote, do whatever they want to NATO allies that don't pay their bills. As someone from that region, are you concerned to hear him voice that kind of statement?
Well, listen, President Trump does a lot of statement to put pressure on our European allies, which is we should. I'm actually personally I'm a commissioner for European security, and we're going to travel to Vienna and Munich next week. And I'm personally going to start putting pressure on them because ultimately they need to do better. And it's unacceptable that with all of the things that happen in Europe, Germany still cannot get to 2%, to contribute to NATO country with that economy. I mean, we have smaller countries, Poland and Baltics, that actually, punching above their weight, they do more than 2%, So I think that is a very dangerous situation. And for them, it's even more dangerous than anyone else. I think they need to really step up.
All right, part of my interview there with Representative Spartz. Let's bring in our panel right now to talk about it. With us this week, we have former state party chair for the Indiana Democrats, Robin Winston, 2016 vice chair for the Indiana Trump campaign, Tony Samuel, and two former state lawmakers, Democrat Terry Austin and Republican Mike Murphy. Mike, I'll start with you and your reaction to that interview, not only on her rationale for running for Congress again, but also what she said and didn't say there about former President Trump's comments on NATO, particularly in the midst of everything else we've heard this week about Russian satellites and Navalny's death in prison.
Well, what she meant to say, actually, I'm not sure what she meant to say, but I think what she meant to say was she really doesn't care what a lot of the local leaders think. She's going to do her own thing. I'm disappointed that she's running because she made a promise she wasn't going to run, and like some people in both parties who declare they're for term limits, and then when the time comes to keep that promise, all of a sudden they're not for term limits. And so I'm a little disappointed that there's so many good people running. I think we have a lot of choices, and I hope she's not the one.
Sparks, by the way, as she mentioned, they're traveling to Europe this weekend at a conference discussing Russian war crimes against children from her native Ukraine. Terry, you're in the 5th District. What's your reaction to all this? And is this a race where Democrats can compete, particularly after the last redistricting process? The 5th District is redder than it used to be.
Well, it's no secret that all of the congressional districts have been gerrymandered. But the problem is Victoria Spartz is very popular. And it's going to depend whether a Democrat, a good, hardworking Democrat, middle-of-the-road moderate, I think could have a decent shot. Christina Hale did an outstanding job. But when she got that close, they changed the lines again. And so I think that it depends on who comes out of the primary.
Tony, how do you see this playing out in a somewhat suburban district? We saw what happened in the New York special election this week in the suburbs outside New York. That seat that used to belong to George Santos. Democrats won handily there this week. Is that at all a warning sign for Republicans this year in the suburbs?
No, I don't think so. I mean, this is Indiana. It's a red state. You've got Trump on the ticket. You've got strong candidates for governor, and one of them is going to win. I think it's going to be Suzanne Crouch. So you know, there's going to be that Republican vote that comes out. You don't have a real strong candidate, I don't think, on the Democrat side across the board. So it's going to be a big year for Republicans here in Indiana.
Robin, what's your response to that? And how do you see this all playing out in the 5th District and elsewhere?
Well, first off, we're going to have an outstanding candidate for governor in Jennifer McCormick, who collected a ton of signatures. And I don't know who you guys' nominee is, because your circular firing squad is going to occur here in the next 71 days. The bottom line is that I think that Victoria Spartz is a juggernaut and may not be liked by the other mayors. They didn't endorse her the first time. So she's now running again. So, you know, it's the old Billy Preston, nothing for nothing, leaves nothing. She doesn't care.
So Spartz in a crowded primary there with 11 candidates. You mentioned the race for governor, the Republican primary in that race also pretty crowded with 6 candidates. There are now a few debates in the works this spring, including one that we're going to be hosting with the candidates next month in late March. On the Democratic side, 2 candidates listed right now, but this week the Indiana Capitol Chronicle reported that Tammy Dixon Tatum is likely well short of the signatures needed to qualify. That process now underway, so it's likely it'll just be Jennifer McCormick on the ballot for the Democrats. Meantime, this week we heard from the Indiana Supreme Court, which made a ruling that could decide the fate of one of the candidates in the race for U.S. Senate. They held a hearing this past week in the case of John Rust, who's challenging a state law requiring primary candidates to have voted in their party's 2 most recent primaries. Despite this ruling and several challenges now to his candidacy, Rust says he's not giving up the fight just yet.
I am still hopeful that the Indiana Supreme Court will rule in favor of the 81% of Hoosiers who were banned from running for political office in the state of Indiana. I think that's wrong. And I think the Indiana State Supreme Court will ultimately find in the favor of the 81%.
If they don't ultimately rule in your favor, are you prepared to take this further to the U.S. Supreme Court, perhaps? Where do you go next?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we will take it to the United States Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. This is very important.
All right, Mike, what do you make of all this?
Well, generally, I think Rust is a good egg overall. But
an egg farmer.
I actually agree with the Indiana Supreme Court. I think each party has a right, if you want to call it that, to have people from their own party competing for the primary. And so, I think if he can afford to take it to any court he wants to. But if he gets to the U.S. Supreme Court, I would be surprised if they even hear the case.
Terry, if the court had ruled in Rust's favor, it certainly could have forced a big change in how both parties have to run their primary processes.
Well, that's true. But I will say this. The election law in Indiana is becoming very convoluted and confusing because young people or people who move here, may be lifelong Republicans or Democrats in other states, cannot run on either major party's ticket unless they voted in the 2 most recent primaries here. It's just, it's a,
Unless they get an exemption.
unless they get
from
an
a county
exemption,
chair,
and there are
right.
very few
As you
county
said, it's
chairmen who want to do
complicated
that
law.
against incumbents
Right.
or longtime party faithfuls.
Tony, obviously, by all indications, whatever ends up happening, if Rust is able to take that fight any further in the courts, Jim Banks seems to be a very heavy favorite in this race.
Heavy favorite. I mean, speaking of eggs, I mean, think of all the millions and trillions of eggs that must have been laid at his Rose Acres farms to allow him to have enough money to already be on the air, and now he's still going to fight this all the way to the, to the end. But Jim Banks is in great shape. He's a great candidate. He was a great congressman. Trump endorsed him a long time ago. That's going to be strong for him. He's doing everything right. And I don't think he's going to have a problem whether Rust is on the ticket or on the ballot.
Robin, what will we see in this race? In the Democratic primary for Senate, we haven't really heard much about either of the 2 candidates running for Senate on your side of the aisle.
Well, to keep the egg analogy alive, it's a scrambled egg over on the Republican side right now. And the entity that you're going to find, and Mike, and you know it too, Representative, is going to be the Indiana Election Commission.
Right.
Because they have to vote to get him off the ballot. He has to be challenged. Back over on our side, Mark Carmichael has a number of signatures that he needs to be able to move forward as a candidate. I believe he's going to be a very viable candidate. He's going to revisit areas along the I-69 spine that he represented, and I think he'll be a viable candidate.
All right, so in that Senate race, as you mentioned, Russ now facing those challenges to his candidacy. By the way, Donald Trump and Joe Biden both facing challenges here in Indiana as well. Trump facing one of those 14th Amendment challenges we've been hearing about in other states. Biden being challenged on some of his signatures. The Indiana Election Commission, as Robin mentioned, will look into all of these challenges here in the coming days. But look who's not getting challenged. Nikki Haley, she will be on the ballot in Indiana, presuming she's still in the race at that point.
Exactly. And, it's been such, it's been such a bad 2 weeks for Trump. On Friday, he was ordered to pay $350 million, earlier $83 million in a, what you only can call an act of premature exclamation. He claimed that Haley would not be on the ballot, and she is.
She will be here in Indiana. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk more about the All-Star Game and what the NBA commissioner is saying about the game here in Indy and how the event is helping the entire community. Straight ahead.